Hey, it's Laurie Hock. I'm thrilled to be with you once again to inspire and develop the leader within you. One of the ways I love doing that is through a message like this. As I choose a theme for each time, I always speak from something that's brand new and fresh in my own discovery, in my own leadership evolution. So today we're going to focus on the theme of celebrating. Now, I haven't chosen this because I recently had a birthday or because my anniversary is coming up soon. I know we can often in our own lives really think of celebrating in terms of those traditional milestones. But it's so much more than that. What I've come to learn is that celebrating is something that we need. Celebrating is something that holds tremendous value. Celebrating is something that speaks to us and is a high form of productivity, of nurturing the things within us so we can cruise through a sustainable path of success and living our purpose. So here's where I've landed with gathering and shaping my ideas around this concept of celebrating. So hear me out. Celebrating. It's a spirited and intentional deviation from routine to honor and acknowledge the progress of someone or something. I'm really proud of how that came together because it speaks to and really nails so many critical components of what I've discovered celebrating to mean in my own path. I'm going to say it one more time. Celebrating. A spirited and intentional, that means it doesn't happen accidental. It's a conscious choice. Deviation from routine. So it's a pause, it's a pull back, it's stepping aside for a moment so you can acknowledge and honor the progress. So that's the forward movement, the development, advancement somehow, whether it be in age, in growth, in achievement, whatever that might be. The progress of someone or something. Wow. Okay, so let me give you some context. I'm sure you've seen in my recent mailings that I was working through creating and developing and delivering and completing my Arise experience for women. The idea came to me in April, and I have fleshed that out, led a group of women through an incredibly transformational experience, and that concluded in September. And I went on a business trip with my husband shortly thereafter, and I had different coaching sessions that I had already scheduled and some meetings that I needed to be part of in that city. But I also knew it was important to take a step back from the routine. I'd been pouring myself vigorously into the Arise process and experience, and I could tell that I needed to pull back a little bit so that I could refill and replenish my reserves so I'm ready for the next go round to pour out in even greater capacity. So we can't just pour out relentlessly and unending without taking time to refuel us. So as I paused and I looked at the bag of work that I had brought along to do while I was in that place, I took a moment and I just I checked in with myself. And I realized that what I needed more than anything was to relax for a few days, to really create an experience where I wasn't going on to the next thing. See, that can happen with us achievers, these folks of us that are highly driven, highly motivated, always looking to the next thing. What I've learned about myself in this experience is that we can so quickly set our sights on the next thing that we fail to acknowledge what has just been accomplished. And I'm not talking in terms of awards earned or recognition or accolades in that sense, but even acknowledging our own personal growth and how we're different now than we were before, what we've been able to lead others to and through. So it became clear to me that the best thing I could do, instead of continuing to plow forward, would be to stop and take pause. I love pausing to reflect back and identify the ways that I've developed and grown. That's an important part of my regimen on a monthly basis, on a daily basis a lot of times. But what was new to me was this idea of celebrating. Wow. Do you practice celebrating? Is that a regular discipline and regimen? And I say regimen, I use that loosely because I don't want it to get strict and rigid, but rather be a replenishing regimen that you embrace. I realized the best thing that I could do was to create some sort of experience for myself that would be relaxing and celebratory. So here I am in a city that I'm not very familiar with, but I paused for about 2 seconds after determining that this was going to be a time to celebrate what had been accomplished over the summer, celebrate the success of a rise, and what a joy it was to be part of the growth in these women's lives. So I found myself a little salon and spa, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to get myself a facial. That's not something I treat myself to. I think I've only had 2 in the last 20 years. But I wanted to create an experience. So I made some arrangements to arrive early, to stay a little long afterwards. I picked an experience that was going to be a substantial amount of time, so it wasn't just in and out, but that could really help me to be still and soak in where I was at. And let me tell you, that was so cleansing. That was so satisfying. It was so exciting to feel like I was taking an intentional pause of deviation from the routine to be able to say, you know what, we don't just keep trudging onward. I'm going to stop and I'm going to look back. I'm going to look around. I'm going to look within and I'm going to look up and just say, hallelujah, this is a beautiful journey. Thank God for this ride and the things that He's called us to. And just giving pause to that was really, really one of the most meaningful things I could have done for myself. So my takeaway from that was realizing, wow, my old thinking was that, well, let me pause here. Celebrating for you doesn't have to look like a facial. That was what was meaningful and made me feel celebrated. For you, it might look like spending time with someone significant, spending time doing something relaxing for yourself, nurturing yourself, self-care, whatever that might look like for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all, so hear me in that. But what I realized was that previously I would have felt like stopping to celebrate was kind of frivolous and probably unnecessary. And for the most part, now I'm not saying I celebrate my kids' birthdays and we certainly get excited about that. But in the meantime, I always have my sights set on the next vision, the next step toward the big goal, simply because that's who I am. So it felt like taking a pause from that would have been unproductive and just plain unnecessary. There was continual movement that needed to happen. So my challenge to you this time is that you would be able to recognize where celebrating needs to happen in your life. What are you missing by not celebrating and taking that intentional deviation from routine so you can honor and acknowledge the progress of someone or something? Wow. I think this is what gives us the stamina to walk the course for a lifetime, to not burn out, to not be so task-driven or goal-oriented that we fail to celebrate the progress and the mile markers accomplished along the way. This gives a necessary pause, and I tell you, I'll never be the same again. That facial, that little spa experience was so rejuvenating for me. I realized that it's becoming a core value of mine. Celebrating the people around me, celebrating how I'm changing and maturing and evolving, celebrating the things that have been accomplished and celebrating the things that are yet to come. But being intentional is the key thing. So what do you need to celebrate? What do you want to celebrate? How can you celebrate effectively in a way that's going to be different from the daily grind? And in doing so, call out your best and bubble up more of your potential to the surface to be acknowledged. You deserve it. You need it. It's an innate need within us. So go out and create it. Let me know what you do. I want to hear so I can celebrate with you. Well done.